What's up? We're here with a new review of WandaVision episode 8. This is the penultimate episode of the series, and Nick, let's get right into it. What was one standout for this episode?
Um, geez, I'm like trying. This was the longest episode. Like that was a solid 47 minutes. I'm just trying to like recall. I think I think what was really interesting was seeing the moment with the Mind Stone at the Hydra base. That like it was like in her head, so to speak, like it actually happened. It was like in her head, like the Hydra people did not see anything. They were just like, what the hell? Like I thought that was really cool. Like just like she's always had that connection, which lines up with what Agatha said at the end when she was like, "You're like, um, not the chosen one, but you're like that, like that one they've spoken of. You're the Scarlet Witch." That kind of lines up with how they've like positioned Wanda in the comics as like this really important nexus like point and persona. So I think that was just really cool to see, like they were always connected, they were always intertwined.
I think that was an amazing moment, the Mind Stone moment, and the shot. It's a really close up. It's a side profile. It kind of reminds me of a shot of Euphoria. I mean, it's a typical shot used in film, where you see something through the reflection in someone's eyes. And in Wanda's eyes, you see the reflection of Scarlet Witch, not her necessarily, but a future host Scarlet Witch. And I'm like, I need to see that costume right now. Um, it's it was a really cool moment, and there was something when the Infinity Stone comes out and it hovers towards her, and then it shatters the blue, and now it's the yellow Infinity Stone. I thought that was a really cool moment. I want to talk about the most impactful emotional moment in this episode, and that's the moment between Wanda and Vision. They're sitting, Vision comes in, Wanda's watching one of her sitcoms. It's her first day at the Avengers compound. And it's this conversation that Wanda and Vision have, where Vision talks about, how he's been alone his entire being. Uh, and he has this like, he's this sentient robot who has this profound view on life, which is so fascinating. And it brings more meaning into the Age of Ultron conversation that he has with Ultron retroactively, I think. Um, I can't remember the exact line off the top of my head, but it's something along the lines of, you know, mourning and grieving is just the persistence of love. I was like, oh my God, Vision is the ultimate therapist that all of us need right now. But Nick, what was your thought on that scene and then like that particular moment?
One of the things I've really enjoyed about this show is that it's actually like, you know, I've said this before, but like I actually buy them as like, having a relationship or having a connection, because I never got that from the movies. They were just kind of, it always seemed they threw them together because that was what the source material dictated. But here I'm like, okay, there are grounds for why they came together. Just that like perspective and that understanding and like how one like is pulled towards the other. So I think that scene was really sweet as well. Yeah, I know you said you pretty much said all of it. It's just again, I really enjoyed seeing that there's like just seeing like the mindset for why these two would come together rather than just feeling like, oh, that they were together in this storyline, so we're gonna throw them together now.
Yeah, there's some other things that were really interesting, and we're gonna hop around a lot this episode. Of course, it's a spoiler review if we didn't mention it before, but it's in the title, so you guys should know that. Spoilers. But the big moment is Vision sends this little card to her, and in the card is like a little heart around this house that they were gonna grow old in, because Vision can't grow old. It's not how his body works, but she goes there and it's just a foundation, and there's this really impactful, it's something really profound about Vision just the way he thought about Wanda. And there was something really like admirable about that thought that like this is where we'll grow old together. And Wanda just in her grieving just goes off, not intentionally or anything, and she creates this bubble reality. And it gives this massive answer to the question: who created this? Was this Wanda? Was this Agnes? Wanda created it. That's for sure. Not on purpose though. And you get this scene where she's. It's right after seeing how important Vision was to her and what Vision meant in that one scene about grieving, and then the next scene with Vision, he's back, and it's like, if I was Wanda, I wouldn't do anything differently either. I would be in this exact same situation. But Nick, what were your thoughts on that scene and the lead up to it?
I'm just really glad this was I don't think I voiced this in the previous reviews, but I had a real like weird concern in the back of my head that like she jacked his corpse and then like resurrected it and then like was puppeting it. At least now it appears she just like it's more of a it's like a more of a mental image that she conjured up, that she manifested, rather than like she did what like Dr. Manhattan could do and she just like created life. Like she didn't necessarily do that. So like she just sort of like manifested it from excess from mind. That was just me being like, this seems sort of like, I know this is obviously like necrophilia isn't the concern, the angle they're going for, obviously, but I'm just like, this is a bit weird, considering it appears she jacked his body. But so I'm glad that happened. I was also a little confused. So did she go back and take his body, or was that did that happen the way it was said?
I don't think he did. They did,
Okay.
and I'll
Yeah.
explain to you why.
Mhm.
So this moment, she's everything she spawns comes out of nothing. So I think that sets the precedent visually that Vision is from nothing. And that shot that we get with him in the hole in his head is not because that's the dead body that's being inhibited. Because frankly, he'd look worse if that was the case. But I think that's just a her not be knowing how she's doing it. And so this magic falters, and that's a show that's meant to signify the starting of this whole reality faltering. And I think that body at the end of Vision, the one that's behind you, the blue Vision, I think that might be the same body
Oh
that she
yeah, I
left
mean
behind.
that's what that last part I um that part I knew like I was like, oh, they just Hayward held on to it, and now they're able to just he was able to do what he's always wanted to do and just bring him back online. And this right here, White Vision, is how I think Paul Bettany is going to be able to stick around, because now he is the Avengers level threat, to quote Mysterio. So like they could deploy him at any point in whatever way they want, assuming he's not dismantled at the end. But like I feel like um, this will be our three-way fight, as you and I have been speculating for the finale. I thought originally like soldiers were gonna come in with like super tech, but like it's gonna be White Vision versus Agatha versus um,
Wanda,
Wanda versus Monica versus um, fake Evan Peters, and
right?
then there's your chaotic. Town is gonna get wrecked. I'll be surprised if the town is like standing normally after next week, because there's so many powerful people in that town right now.
Yeah, yeah, I would be a concerned resident.
Hmm.
That's for sure. I think there's so much going into this that's just so exciting. But the Hayward angle, because he made it seem like Wanda had broken and stolen Vision's body.
Yeah,
He was lying. He was using that as a pretense to really get something from that bubble that he thought could be used to bring Vision back to life.
he, I mean, I guess he needed her, because that's what he was saying at the end. He was like, we just needed a battery or something. Like, I guess what they needed, they just, I don't know. It was weird because like he said, like the Darcy said directly, like they're tracking Vision, not Wanda, which is why we thought like, oh, like she jacked his body, but I guess not. I don't know. A lot of stuff in play.
Yeah, it's a really interesting moment, and it gives a greater perspective of what director Hayward's angle is on this.
Mhm.
Um, what are your thoughts on this new vision as far as the look? Do you like the look, or are you not really a fan?
I mean, at least they went out of the way to make sure there's like a definitive. This is not Vision. Like, I mean, they completely sapped him of color. I mean, um, I'm down with it. I think it achieves the purpose it set out to be. It's just like, because in essence, this is like the character Doomsday from DC. It's like you're being deployed as a like something to punch per se, and this is how he looks like. So I mean, they got that look at least. So I'm okay with it. It's accurate to what the source material is.
Yeah, and I'll be curious how this I don't even want to call it vision, but
Mhm.
how this robot will be affected by going into the hex.
It's what did they say in the original Mad Max? Two people enter, one person leaves. That's the only way this is gonna go. And I think our Westview vision is gonna go. If I'm gonna place bets on this final fight, I feel like White Vision is gonna like walk away the victor. Or is it gonna be one of those fake out scenes of like, oh, you think it's Vision, but like he like changes colors or some crap. Um, I don't know. Yeah, at least now there's this isn't Paul Bettany's final go around because I feel like that was another concern. Like, do they kill him off and keep him killed off, or like do they find a loophole to keep him hanging around?
Who knows? I'm not so sure. This robot may not be successful in its fight against Vision.
See,
Not if
then
Wanda
you
has
get
anything to say about it.
then you get into a Dark Trooper situation of like they tease this big threat and then they go down like a they go down like a bunch of crap. I'm just like, oh, okay,
Here's my
yes.
pushback on that though. They go
Mhm.
down like chumps, right?
Yeah,
But if there's a great action sequence, then I think it works. Like the thing with the Dark Troopers was the action sequence just was boring. And it
I don't
wasn't
know.
visually interesting.
The whole like you're just there to punch something. It just feels like, especially introduced like late in the game. I'm like, I would hope there's something more to it than just, I don't know, getting just chucked in there last minute so they can do their big action sequence. It just feels a bit, at least for me. And like depending on how this goes, maybe White Vision does die, but it's executed in a way that I like didn't see coming. But like for right now, it just feels like it would just feel like, well, that was a waste of time. Like they just needed something for Vision to fight.
Yeah, it would be pretty heartbreaking for Vision to die a third time in front of Wanda. I will say that.
Fair enough.
Can you imagine what that would do for her? God.
I mean, I think I was saying like we were predicting that Vision wouldn't make it out of this show alive at least until an inevitable resurrection because that's what the MCU loves to do. So like I feel like it only ends with, in some ways, I feel like the best way to end it is with Vision's death because it just feels like this whole question of the show has been, is Wanda like right for cheating the system in this way, or does she have to accept the reality and accept that he's gone to process that? So I feel like the only way to get her to move forward is to take him out of the picture yet again, and for her to like accept it this time.
Yeah. That's a very good point, though. I don't think that's going to happen. I think she's going to bring it to a whole new level, and that's going to lead into Doctor Strange, who I think will show up in the next episode. But we'll get more on that later. Let's go to the Agatha Harkness and the opening scene of this episode, which is in Salem, Massachusetts, repping the home state, uh, and what we think is going to be like a witch being burnt at the stake, right?
Yeah,
But it turns out it's a whole society of
like
not
women,
wizards, but
witches,
what? Yeah, witches.
witches.
Uh, and we get this opening scene with Agatha. But Nick, what were your thoughts on that whole scene?
I really want to know who her boss is. arguably more because it seems she herself is not like fully aware of like the way she was like it's not she said something along the lines like it's not my fault. So I'm like interesting because now it's just I thought she was like because she's trying to figure out how Wanda's doing it, and I was like you're either one trying to advance your own power, or you're trying to or someone's just using a guy behind the guy behind the guy type situation. So like the purple energy reminded of me a lot of Dormammu. I mean, she
Yeah.
said as much like about Wanda, like that's chaos magic, which is like then you could bring in Nightmare, which I know Scott Derrickson wanted to use before he left directing Multiverse of Madness. He's one of the OG Doctor Strange villains that could bring you into, as everyone has been speculating, like Mephisto. Um, I think I for sure the villain is of Multiverse of Madness has to be whoever's behind Agatha. We've said that already, but at this point, it's an interesting wrinkle to see that like Wanda is more than just this poor girl that they decided to like leech off of. There's like almost like a prophecy level series of events at play.
There is, and that's what's really fascinating. And I really love this plot idea in the way they execute this episode. It may be my favorite episode in how they in straight up execution of just the opening doors, like it's opening doors and making Wanda confront the thing that she hasn't confronted this whole series, her past.
Yeah.
Um, we've talked about a couple of them. We've talked about the Avengers compound. We've talked about Hydra. We didn't talk about the first one with her family. What was your thoughts on that original scene?
Um, for the most part, it was just kind of like, okay, this is just visualizing information we've gotten already. No, I will say the whole thing that like she's not a she to borrow a DC term, she's not a meta human per se. She's always at heart been some sort of like greater magical being that what did Agatha call it? The probability hex. So like that she used on the Stark missile or whatever. So I thought that was an interesting wrinkle that like all this time Wanda's just assumed she got powers after Hydra, but there's something been inside of her all this time, which is I think is really interesting.
I did too. I thought that was a fascinating reveal of she saved her brother, right?
Hmm.
She saved herself. And I wonder if there's going to be a new guilt that comes with that she had the powers then.
Yeah.
And she didn't know. And she didn't know that she had the power that maybe could have saved the rest of her family.
You're right.
I wonder if that's, there's for each wound that's closed, there's a new wound to be opened, whether it's that,
Yeah.
whether it's her kids who I don't know if they're going to make it out alive.
Yeah.
There are a lot of new wounds that open by her going to the past, even if it means coming to terms with some of her other ones.
100%. Yeah.
Let's see, what else is there to talk about this episode? I feel like there's more. We didn't get anything of Monica Rambeau's perspective where she was with Pietro, as she had fake Pietro. Was there anything else that you thought was really a standout moment from this episode?
Not really. I mean, it just it was just in some ways it was like the fourth episode where it was just like in some ways it pushed the story forward, but it was also just like filling in the gaps, exposition or whatnot. So I don't know if it's my favorite episode per se. I think I'm still partial to um was it episode five or episode six? One of those, I can't remember.
When Pietro shows up at the end?
I think whatever preceded the Halloween episode, that still might be my favorite.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. It was interesting. It was interesting to see. It'll be interesting to watch this episode and like do some sort of like Wanda recap of like watching this episode, watching Age of Ultron, like filling in the gaps of the movies like with the scenes featured here, and then going into WandaVision, having this whole like storyline of like her. But yeah, I don't know. It was an interesting time. We're at the season finale. It feels like forever ago when the premiere happened, and yeah, it's gonna be good.
I am so excited for the season finale, man. I could not be more hyped. I know Doctor Strange is going to be in it. If I'm wrong, I'm going to say I've called it since day one, and I've been wrong since day one, if that's the case. Um,
I'm not gonna argue otherwise.
yeah, I just think there's no way he's not in it. It makes sense. This is a Doctor Strange type thing, witches fighting wizards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, I just don't think this ends well for Wanda.
Yeah.
I just don't see that reality.
No, again, my money's on good Vision dying or her having to like sever that connection because like here's the thing too, Westview is definitely not staying under her control at the end. There's just no way that happened, and once she relinquishes that, she's gonna have to relinquish Vision. I feel that's the only way she's gonna like a character journey of any kind is going to be made is with that exclamation point. She will this time will have to let them go of her own validity because she didn't the first two times because the first time it was like circumstances, and he was forcing her. The second time was Thanos had complete control. Here I feel like this show only ends when she herself chooses to let him go, and that's how it's gonna go. Whether how Monica, Asian Jim, and her Reed Richards, or I'm sorry, the aerospace engineer happens, we'll see. But I think this only ends with Wanda letting him go.
Yeah, I agree with that. My last question before we head out on this.
Mhm.
What did you think of Agatha Harkness's costume?
I thought it was all right. It
Yeah.
wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It was just kind of like, it was kind of classic. Like, how can we do a witch without being like, I don't know, hardcore or like doing like cliche witch? And it was just like, here's some tattered robes. Here she's got her necklace, got a, you know, it was right. It wasn't anything mind blowing, but it wasn't like offensive to the eyes.
Yeah. Ooh, one more question actually, now that I think about it. The book, we got this close up on the book, right? This pressing
Right.
on it, like it was something that was important for us.
Yeah.
We gonna get that meaning in this episode?
Well, I think from what I've like understood, the book is like her Agatha's like not source of power, but like her like own personal artifact or something. Like that book may be the thing that causes Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness to happen. Like whoever like gets control of that. Bit weird they didn't explain in this episode because since that it seems like a big thing to introduce in the finale, but um yeah, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see. I did see one interesting image. Someone was like posted a scene from Doctor Strange and was like, there seems to be a missing book from this library. And I was like, interesting indeed. Yeah, that could be a. I feel at the very least they're gonna explain that because they were like, they lingered on that too much to not explain it.
Yeah, yeah. They don't do those close up pressing shots. Those are the shots that are telling you this has meaning. We're just not
Yeah,
telling you what it is yet.
exactly.
Um, but with that, that wraps up our spoiler review of episode 8 of WandaVision. Let us know your thoughts and your theories on what's coming up next in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video, and we'll see you next time.
What's up?